The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive structure orbiting a dying star. Inside, representatives from 43 different species sat in their designated sections. The air recyclers worked overtime to accommodate the different atmospheric preferences, creating layers of breathable gases that shimmered slightly under the artificial lights. Ambassador Junho Park stood at the speaking platform, his hands gripping the edges of the podium. He had been standing there for 20 minutes, trying to make the council understand. Behind him, holographic displays showed data streams, sensor readings, and predictive models. All of them pointed to the same conclusion. "The readings are clear," Junho said, keeping his voice steady. "Our deep space monitoring stations detected the anomaly 16 months ago. Since then, we have tracked its movement. It is not a natural phenomenon. It is a fleet. A massive fleet. And it is heading directly toward council space." Speaker Thelvin, the avian leader of the council, shifted his feathered head. His large eyes blinked slowly, showing neither concern nor interest. "Ambassador Park, we have reviewed your data. Our own scientists find it inconclusive." Inconclusive? Junho felt his jaw tighten. He forced himself to remain calm. "Speaker, we have provided you with 47 separate data points. We have shown you the gravitational distortions, the energy signatures, the trajectory analysis. This is not inconclusive. This is certain." Councillor Drentok, representing the reptilian species from the Kravos system, let out a sound that the translator rendered as a dismissive snort. "Humans see threats everywhere. You have been part of this council for less than 50 years. You do not understand how the galaxy works. We understand enough to know when something dangerous is approaching." Captain Dae Kim said from his position behind Junho. The military officer had not been scheduled to speak, but his patience had worn thin. Thelvin's feathers ruffled. "Captain Kim, you do not have the floor." "Ambassador Park, please control your subordinates." Junho raised a hand slightly, signaling Dae to remain silent. "Speaker, I apologize for the interruption, but the captain speaks from legitimate concern. We have modeled 17 different scenarios. In every single one, if we do not begin preparations now, the casualties will be catastrophic." "Preparations," Councillor Ive said, her aquatic form floating in its specialized tank. "You mean militarization? You want us to divert resources from our current priorities to build weapons and ships for a threat that may not even exist?" "The threat exists," Dr. Hannah Lee spoke from the research section. She was technically not part of the diplomatic team, but she had been granted permission to attend. "Our sensor networks do not lie? The science is sound." "Your sensor networks," Thelvin said, and there was something in his tone that made Junho's stomach sink. "Human-designed sensor networks. Using human technology. Detecting what you claim is a threat that only humans seem to be able to see." The chamber fell silent for a moment. Junho understood what was being implied. "Speaker, are you suggesting that we have fabricated this data?" "I am suggesting that humanity has always been eager to prove its worth to this council. Perhaps too eager." Thelvin spread his wings slightly, a gesture of authority among his people. "You arrived in council space with impressive technology, yes. You made yourselves useful, but you remain newcomers. You do not understand the politics, the history, the delicate balance we maintain." "This is not about politics," Junho said, and he could hear the edge in his own voice now. "This is about survival." "Everything is about politics, Ambassador." Councillor Drentok leaned forward. "The Korvan sector has disputed borders with the Telman Empire. The resource colonies in the Outer Rim are facing shortages. We have trade negotiations that have been stalled for 3 years. These are real problems. These are immediate problems. Your Phantom Fleet is neither." Junho looked around the chamber. He saw it in their faces, in their body language, in the way they avoided his eyes. They had already decided. This meeting was a formality. They had dismissed the threat before he even began speaking. "I'm calling for a vote," Thelvin announced. "The human delegation has requested immediate military buildup and the formation of a unified defense force. They ask for significant resource allocation and the authority to coordinate Council military assets. All those in favor? 3 hands rose. 3 out of 43. The motion fails, Thelvin said. Furthermore, I am putting forward a counter-motion. The human military presence in Council space has grown beyond what is appropriate for a junior member species. I propose we reduce their fleet capacity by 40% and restrict their patrol routes to their own local sectors. Junho felt as if he had been struck. Speaker, you cannot be serious. All those in favor? Thelvin did not even look at him. This time, 37 hands rose. The chamber erupted in discussion. Captain Dae Kim moved forward, his face dark with anger. Dr. Hannah Lee sat frozen in her seat. Junho simply stood at the podium, watching the council dissolve into chatter about implementation schedules and transition periods. Counselor. Ivia's tank moved closer to the platform. Ambassador Park, you must understand. The council has existed for 12,000 years. We have seen threats come and go. We have survived. Your species is young. You see danger because you do not yet understand how to see opportunity. This is not opportunity, Junho said quietly. This is annihilation. Dramatic words. EVA's translator carried a tone of condescension. You will see. In 6 months, in a year, when nothing happens, you will realize you were mistaken. The Council's wisdom is proven over millennia. Trust in that wisdom. Junho looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at Thelvin, at Drentok, at all the others who sat in their comfortable seats, secure in their ancient institution. He thought about everything humanity had contributed. The medical advances that had saved billions. The agricultural techniques that had ended famines on 7 worlds. The shield technology that protected their ships. The sensor networks that watched the darkness between stars. All of it dismissed. All of it meaningless. We came to you seeking partnership, Junho said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. The room fell quiet again. We offered everything we had. We asked only to be heard, to be respected, to be treated as equals. But you see us as children, as primitives, as paranoid newcomers who do not understand your wisdom. Ambassador, Thelvin began, I am not finished. Junho's voice was not loud, but it cut through the chamber like a blade. You are making a mistake. History will remember this moment. I hope, for all your sakes, that you are right about the threat. Because if you are wrong, if we are correct, then this decision will cost more lives than you can imagine. He stepped down from the platform. Captain Dae Kim and Dr. Hannah Lee joined him. Together they walked toward the exit. No one tried to stop them. No one spoke. That doorway. Junho paused. He looked back at the council one last time. We tried, he said. Remember that we tried. The door closed behind them with a soft hiss. Inside the chamber, the council moved on to the next item on their agenda, a border dispute that had existed for 200 years. Outside, in the corridor, Junho activated his communication device. This is Ambassador Park to all human ships and stations. Initiate Protocol 7. Repeat, initiate Protocol 7. Authorization code, homeward. Captain Dae Kim looked at him. Are you certain? They made their choice, Junho said. Now we make ours. Admiral Minho Choi stood on the bridge of the battleship Defiance, watching the status reports flow across his screens. Each line represented a ship, a station, or an outpost. Each line was changing from red to green as units reported ready for departure. Admiral, the colony on Verdant 3 confirms evacuation complete, his communications officer reported. All personnel and essential equipment loaded. Facilities cleaned and secured. Acknowledged, Minho said. Next update. The medical station orbiting Kelros Prime is shutting down. All patients have been stabilized and transferred to local facilities. Medical database wiped from their systems. The research outpost in the Talon Nebula reports departure in 3 hours. All experiments concluded or safely terminated. Trading Post Gamma 17 has completed final transactions. All contracts fulfilled. Station transferred to local authority. The reports kept coming. Across Council space, humanity was disappearing like smoke and wind. Minho had commanded fleets for 30 years. He had fought pirates, negotiated with alien species, and explored systems that no one had ever seen. But he had never commanded anything like this. Protocol 7 had been created 5 years ago, in secret by a small group of human leaders who saw which way the wind was blowing. It was a complete withdrawal plan. Every detail had been worked out. Every contingency covered. They had hoped never to use it. Now they were using it. "Admiral, we are receiving hails from Council Security," the communications officer said. "They are requesting explanation for ship movements." "Send them the standard response," Minho said. "Our ships are conducting routine repositioning exercises. We are complying with all traffic regulations and departure protocols." It was not a lie. Every ship was filing proper flight plans. Every departure was logged correctly. Every regulation was being followed to the letter. The Council had written extensive rules about how ships could move through their space. Humanity was obeying every single one of those rules. They just happened to be obeying them in the direction of human territory. Dr. Yuna Kong appeared on his screen from the Colonial Administration headquarters. "Admiral, I have an update. The agricultural shipments to the 12 dependent colonies have all been delivered. Full harvest, as contracted. But we have not renewed the contracts." "How long before they notice?" Minho asked. 2 months. Maybe 3. They have reserves? But when those run out and they realize we are not coming back? Yuna shook her head. "We have been feeding billions of them, Admiral. They do not even know it. They think their own agriculture is sufficient." "We gave them the techniques," Minho said. "We taught them the methods. If they chose not to implement them, that is not our responsibility." "I know," Yuna said. "It just feels wrong leaving them like this." "They left us no choice." Minho looked at the star map on his main display. Red markers showed the approaching threat, still months away from Council space. Blue markers showed human positions, all of them streaming steadily away from the center. "We warned them. We begged them. They called us paranoid and voted to reduce our fleet. So we are reducing our fleet. We are reducing it all the way to 0. Captain Hyanesio contacted from the diplomatic vessel Grace. "Admiral, Ambassador Jinho wanted me to inform you that we have completed data transfers. All human research, all shared technology, all collaborative projects have been archived. We are leaving copies with the Council as agreements require. But the complete databases are coming home." "Medical research?" Minho asked. "All of it. The cure for Brenton fever, the treatment for Carvosian genetic degradation, the surgical techniques for cross-species transplants. Everything we shared freely for 47 years. The copies we are leaving them will show what was done, but not the complete methodology. Not the research data. Not the computational models." Minho felt a cold satisfaction. "They will figure it out eventually." "Perhaps," Hyan said. "If they have time, and if they have human-level computing power, and if they can replicate our research conditions. The surgical techniques alone require equipment they do not have. Equipment we designed. Equipment that is leaving with us." Across Council space, the pattern repeated. Human-designed shield generators were removed from stations and ships. Human-made sensors were wiped and powered down. Human medical equipment was packed carefully and loaded onto transport ships. Human advisors, engineers, scientists, and teachers all filed onto vessels bound for home. They left nothing behind that was not owed by contract. They took nothing that was not theirs by right. Every action was legal, proper, and documented. The Council began to notice on the 3rd day. "Admiral, we are receiving priority hails from Council Command," the communications officer reported. "They are demanding to speak with you. Put them through." Counselor Drentok appeared on the screen, his reptilian features twisted in anger. "Admiral Choi, what is the meaning of this? We have reports of human ships departing from 70 star systems. Stations are being evacuated. Outposts are being shut down. Explain yourself immediately." Counselor, we are complying with Council directive, Minho said calmly. The vote was to reduce human military presence. We are reducing it. This is not a reduction. This is a complete withdrawal. The Council voted to restrict us. We decided it would be simpler to remove ourselves entirely. We are following all proper procedures. We are honoring all existing contracts. We are breaking no laws. You cannot just leave. Why not? Minho looked directly at the counselor. We are junior members, as you reminded us. We do not understand council politics, as you informed us. We see threats that do not exist, as you told us. So we are returning to our own space. We will deal with our paranoid fantasies there. This is unacceptable. The Council did not authorize a full withdrawal. The Council does not command sovereign species, Minho said. You can request. You can negotiate. You can vote on recommendations. But you cannot order us to stay where we are not wanted. Drentok started to respond, but Minho cut the connection. There was nothing more to say. Over the next 3 days, the Council sent 17 more hails. Minho ignored them all. He had his orders. Protocol 7 was clear. No negotiations. No explanations. No delays, just departure. Ambassador Junho sent one final message to the Council. It was encrypted with a code they would need 3 days to break. By then, the last human ships would be gone. The message was simple. You were warned. You were given evidence. You were offered partnership. You chose pride. You chose politics. You chose to ignore the truth. Now you will face the consequences alone. We wish you well. We truly do. But we will not die for those who would not listen. Goodbye. Captain Hyanesio piloted the Grace toward the boundary of Council space. Behind them, stations stood empty. Facilities sat cleaned and silent. Agricultural shipments would stop coming. Medical supplies would run out. Shield generators would fail without maintenance. Sensors would go dark without human technicians to repair them, and in the darkness between stars, the threat continued its approach. The readings were clear now. The Council's own sensors could detect it if they bothered to look. If they had anyone left who knew how to interpret the data. Hyon brought the Grace to the boundary line. She paused there for a moment, looking back at the Council space that humanity had called home for nearly 50 years. Then she engaged the engines and crossed into human territory. Behind them, the Council was alone. Ahead, humanity was safe behind borders they had been quietly reinforcing for 5 years. They had hoped to stand with the Council against the threat. They had hoped for partnership, but hope was not a strategy. And preparation was not paranoia. The last human ship left Council space on the 6th day. The great exodus was complete. Not a single shot had been fired. Not a single law had been broken. Not a single dramatic speech had been made. Humanity simply left. Quietly, efficiently, completely, and in the darkness, the threat came closer. Speaker Thelvin stood in his private office, staring at the reports on his desk. 2 weeks had passed since the last human ship crossed the boundary. 2 weeks since the Council had realized what was actually happening. 2 weeks since the word mistake had started. Appearing in conversations, the first report was from the medical director of Kelros Prime. 18 patients died yesterday from complications. That would have been treatable with human medical procedures. We have the basic notes the humans left us, but without the detailed research data and the specialized equipment, we cannot replicate their techniques. We estimate mortality rates will increase by 40% within the month. The second report was from the military. Shield failure on 17 vessels. All were using human-designed shield generators. Without human maintenance protocols, we cannot repair them. We are attempting to reverse engineer the technology, but initial estimates suggest this will take between 2 and 5 years. The third report was from Agricultural Services. The colonies of Talos 9, Verdant 3, and Kelros Beta are reporting food shortages. Human agricultural shipments have ceased. Local production is insufficient. We recommend emergency rationing and food distribution from core worlds. There were 43 more reports. Each one was worse than the last. Counselor EVA swam in tight circles in her tank. She had called an emergency session. How did we not see this? How did we not realize how dependent we have become? They made themselves indispensable, Drentok said. His voice carried anger, but also something that might have been fear. It was deliberate. They embedded themselves into our systems so deeply that we cannot function without them. Or perhaps we simply relied on the best technology available, Counselor Pelony said quietly. The young avian was one of the few who had voted in favor of the human proposals. They offered superior methods. We accepted them. That is not manipulation. That is common sense. Where is the common sense in leaving us helpless? Drentok demanded. They did not leave us helpless. They left us the basic information. They fulfilled every contract. They broke no agreements. We simply never bothered to learn how to maintain what they built because we assumed they would always be here. Thelvin raised a wing for silence. The question is not how this happened. The question is what we do now. We need to contact them. We need to negotiate their return. We have tried, Ivy said. They are not responding. We have sent 47 communication attempts. All of them are acknowledged automatically and then ignored. Send more. Send envoys. Send diplomatic ships. Make them understand that this is unacceptable. 3 days later, a council diplomatic vessel reached the human border. They transmitted requests for dialogue. They waited for 6 hours. Finally, a response came. It was not from Ambassador Junho or Admiral Minho or any official that the council recognized. A junior officer named Jiwoo appeared on the screen. This is the human border station. State your business. We are an official council delegation, the Kravosian captain said. We request immediate audience with your leadership. Request noted, Jiwoo said. Is there anything else? Is there... The captain looked confused. Yes, there is something else. We need to speak with your ambassador. This is urgent council business. Ambassador Park is not available for council business. The council reduced human participation to junior member status. Junior members do not require senior diplomatic personnel. If you have specific matters to discuss, you may file a formal request through proper channels. Response time is typically 30 to 60 days. We do not have 60 days. This is an emergency. If you are experiencing an emergency, I recommend you contact Council Emergency Services. Human space is not experiencing any emergencies at this time. Is there anything else I can help you with? The transmission ended. The council was stunned. The humans were treating them like strangers, like inconvenient neighbors, like exactly what the council had treated them as for 47 years. Meanwhile, other problems were mounting. The deep space sensor networks began failing. These networks had been installed by humans across council space, providing early warning of everything from asteroid impacts to hostile ship movements. Without maintenance, they went dark one by one. We are blind, the military commander said during an emergency session. The sensors in the outer territories have failed completely. We have no idea what is happening beyond our immediate borders. Can we not repair them? Delvin asked. The technology is beyond our current capabilities? We could repair them given time and resources. Perhaps 5 years? Perhaps 10. We do not have 5 years. Then we remain blind. Trade was collapsing. Human ships had carried 30% of all goods moving through council space. With them gone, supply chains broke. Prices soared. Colonies that depended on regular deliveries faced shortages. Civil unrest began on 3 worlds. Counselor Ivy reviewed the economic reports with growing horror. The humans were the backbone of our economy. They transported goods. They provided medical services. They maintained infrastructure. They did it so efficiently, so quietly, that we never even noticed. We thought it was just how things worked. We thought we were using them, Pelony said softly. But they were holding us up. 3 months after the humans left, the council detected something on their failing sensors. An anomaly. a massive gravitational distortion approaching from beyond the rim. Exactly where the humans had said it would be, Thelvin stood in the command center, watching the data. His feathers had lost their shine. He looked older than he had 3 months ago. Is this what they warned us about? The lead scientist, a Telman named Varax, studied the readings. The data is fragmentary. Our sensors are not functioning at full capacity. But yes, Speaker, this matches the human predictions exactly. How long until it reaches Council space? 5 months. Maybe 6? And our military status? The military commander spread out a holographic display. It showed the Council fleet. Red markers indicated ships with failing shields, damaged systems, or incomplete repairs. There were many red markers. We are at 60% combat effectiveness. And dropping. Without the human maintenance crews, without their technical support, our fleet is degrading daily. Thelvin looked at the approaching threat. He looked at the degraded fleet. He looked at the counselors who were staring at him, waiting for him to fix what he had broken. Contact the humans again. Send a direct message to Ambassador Park. Use my personal authority. Tell them we were wrong. The message was sent. It was not acknowledged. It was not ignored. It simply received no response at all. Thelvin recorded another message. This one was personal. In it, he admitted the mistake. He acknowledged the warnings. He begged for help. He promised reforms, changes, anything the humans wanted. He sent it with his personal seal, the highest authority in the council. 4 days later, a response came. It was not from Ambassador Junho, it was from Dr. Yuna Kongla. She appeared on the screen, her expression neutral. Speaker Thelvin, your message has been received and reviewed. I have been authorized to provide you with the following response. When humanity joined the council, we came seeking partnership. We offered our knowledge freely. We shared our technology without restriction. We asked only for respect and equal standing. The council provided neither. For 47 years, we were treated as useful servants. Our warnings were dismissed. Our concerns were mocked. Our proposals were rejected. When we spoke of threats, we were called paranoid. When we urged preparation, we were called warmongers. The council made its position clear. So we left. We did not leave in anger. We did not leave seeking revenge. We left because remaining would have meant dying for people who saw us as expendable. Humanity is secure behind our borders. We have prepared for the coming threat. We will survive it. We wish the council well. We truly do. But we cannot save those who refuse to save themselves. Goodbye, Speaker Thelvin. The transmission ended. In the command center, silence fell. Someone started to cry. Others sat frozen. Thelvin looked at the approaching threat on the sensors. Then he looked at the degraded fleet. Then he looked at his own reflection in the dark screen. He had led the council for 20 years. He had presided over peace, prosperity, and expansion. And now he would preside over its end. All because he had not listened. All because he had been too proud to take warnings from a species he considered inferior. Prepare the fleet, he said finally. His voice was hollow. Evacuate the outer colonies. Send all available ships to defensive positions. And pray that we are stronger than I think we are? The invasion was coming. The council was blind, weakened, and alone. And in the silence of space, humanity watched from behind their borders, safe in the fortress they had been building while the council ignored them. The consequences had arrived. The first attack came at dawn on Kelros Beta. The colonists had no warning. The sensor network that should have detected the approaching ships had gone dark 2 months earlier. The shields that should have protected the orbital stations failed because no one knew how to maintain the human-designed generators. The invaders called themselves the Vrin. They did not negotiate. They did not communicate. They simply attacked within 6 hours. Kelros Beta was silent. High Commander Venral received the report in the military command center. The insectoid officer had fought in border skirmishes for 30 years. This was different. How many ships? We estimate 300 in the first wave. They used formation tactics we have never seen before. Our defense fleet engaged but was overwhelmed. Casualties, 100%. 100%? Venril felt her lower arms twitch, a sign of stress among her people. The entire defense fleet? Every ship. They tore through our formations. Our weapons barely scratched their hulls. Their weapons. Commander, they cut our ships apart like we were made of paper. Thelvin entered the command center. He looked like he had not slept in days. How bad? Kelros Beta is gone. 7 million colonists. Presumed dead. The speaker's feathers drooped. One colony. We have hundreds. We can hold. Speaker, you do not understand. The ease with which they destroyed our fleet. Our ships are not equipped for this. Our tactics are not designed for this. Our weapons are not strong enough for this. Then adapt. Improve. We have the best military minds in the galaxy. We had the best military minds, a new voice said. Counselor Pelony stood at the doorway. We had the humans. They trained with us. They shared tactical doctrine. They improved our formations. Then we told them their paranoia was not welcome. So they left. And they took their knowledge with them. We learned from them, Venril said. We know their methods. We know the basics. They kept the advanced tactics to themselves. I reviewed our training records. Every time we approached certain subjects, the human instructors would say they needed authorization from their command to share more. We thought they were being cautious. Now I understand. They were preparing for this. For the day we might need them, and they would not be there. The attacks continued. 3 more colonies fell in the next week. The Council fleet engaged the Vryn at the Talon Nebula and lost 47 ships to destroy 12 enemy vessels. The mathematics were brutal. At this rate, the Council fleet would be gone in 3 months. We need a new strategy, Venril said during the emergency council session. Our direct assault tactics are not working. The humans use something they called defensive depth, Drentok said. He had been reviewing old training materials. They would create layers of defense, forcing the enemy to fight through multiple positions. But implementing it requires coordination we do not have. Why do we not have it? Thelvin demanded. Because the coordination software was human-designed. Because the communication protocols were human-developed. Because the tactical displays were human-built. We used their systems for 47 years, and we never learned to build our own. We never thought we needed to. The Vryn pushed deeper into Council space. They moved with precision, targeting strategic locations, infrastructure, trade hubs, military installations. They knew exactly where to hit to cause maximum damage. They are not just conquering, Ive observed. They are dismantling. They know our weaknesses. Perhaps they scouted us, Pelony suggested. Perhaps they have been watching. Or perhaps our weaknesses are obvious to anyone who looks, Thelvin said bitterly. We built everything on the foundation the humans provided. When they left, the foundation left with them. 5 months into the invasion, the Council held emergency elections. Thelvin stepped down. He had lost the confidence of the Council. Venril took command of the military with absolute authority. The civilian government essentially ceased to exist. Everything was subordinated to survival. Counselor Ive made one last attempt to contact the humans. She recorded a message, speaking directly to the camera, letting her desperation show. This is Counselor Ive of the Aquatic Delegation. I am addressing humanity, wherever you are. I know we do not deserve your help. I know we dismissed you, disrespected you, and drove you away. But I am not asking for my sake. I am asking for the billions who will die. The children who will never grow up. The families who will be torn apart. Please, if there is any mercy in humanity, help us. The response came 3 days later. Dr. Yuna Kong appeared on the screen. Counselor Ive, your message has been received. I am responding because you, at least, treated us with basic courtesy during our time in the Council. But the answer must be no. Humanity prepared for this threat. We reinforced our borders. We built defensive networks. We trained our military. We did this while the council mocked us, while you told us we were paranoid, while you reduced our fleet presence because you thought we were being aggressive. Now you ask us to risk our lives for you, to send our ships into a war zone, to fight for people who would not listen when we warned them. Counselor, humanity learned a hard lesson in our own history. We learned that you cannot save people who refuse to save themselves. We tried to help you. You rejected that help. Now the consequences have arrived. We are sorry. We truly are. But we will not sacrifice our people for yours. Yuna paused, and for a moment her professional mask slipped. For what it is worth, I did not want this. None of us did. We hoped you would listen. We hoped we could face this threat together. But hope is not strategy, and preparation is not paranoia. Good luck, Counselor. I mean that sincerely. The transmission ended. Yves stared at the blank screen. Then she returned to her work. There was nothing else to do. The Council would stand alone. 8 months after the first attack, the Council controlled less than 30% of their former territory. Millions had died. Billions had become refugees. The fleet was shattered. Supplies were running out. Infrastructure was collapsing. Commander Venril stood on the bridge of the command ship, watching another battle unfold. They were losing, again. How many ships did we lose today? 18. We destroyed 4 of theirs. The mathematics were unchanged. They were bleeding ships faster than they could replace them. Even if they won every battle from now on, they would still lose the war. Send the evacuation order, Venril said. All civilian ships are to retreat to the Galactic Rim. Military will cover the withdrawal. Commander, that means abandoning half our remaining territory. That territory is already lost. We just have not admitted it yet. Send the order? Thelvin, no longer speaker but still alive, stood on the observation deck of a refugee ship. He watched the stars of Council space fade behind them. Somewhere out there, humanity was safe behind their borders. They had been right. About everything. About the threat. About the need to prepare. About the Council's pride being its downfall. He had led the Council for 20 years. He had been so certain, so confident, so sure that the ancient institution knew better than the young, aggressive humans. And he had been catastrophically wrong. The refugee ships fled toward the rim. Behind them, the Vryn continued their advance. Council space was falling, system by system, world by world. The consequences of pride, of arrogance, of refusing to listen, the consequences were annihilation, and somewhere, behind impenetrable borders, humanity watched. They did not gloat. They did not celebrate. They simply watched and remembered and mourned for what could have been. 10 years had passed since the humans left Council space. 10 years since the Vryn invasion began. 10 years since the galaxy learned that some mistakes cannot be undone. Captain Sora Yoon stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Remembrance, studying the star charts. Her mission was simple: map the Outer Rim territories, catalog resources, and report any unusual activity. It was routine work, the kind that kept the borders of human space secure and monitored. Captain, we are detecting a debris field ahead, her sensor officer reported. Composition suggests artificial structures. Multiple ship signatures? Show me. The main screen displayed the debris field. Sora felt her breath catch. These were not old wrecks. The damage was relatively recent. And the designs were familiar. Those are Council ships. Confirmed, Captain. Design matches pre-invasion Council naval architecture. I'm also detecting life signs. Faint, but present. There's a settlement on the 3rd planet. Sora considered her options. Protocol was clear. Human ships did not enter former Council space. The borders were sealed. The decision had been made a decade ago. But protocol also said that distress situations required assessment. Take us in, carefully, weapons ready but not armed. Let them see we are not hostile. The Remembrance approached the planet slowly. It was a marginal world, barely habitable. The settlement was small, maybe 10,000 people. Prefabricated structures clustered around a natural harbor. Defensive positions ringed the perimeter, but they looked makeshift, desperate. "We are being hailed, Captain." "Put them through." An avian face appeared on the screen. Young, tired, scarred. "This is Elder Pelony of the Free Remnant. Identify yourself." Sora recognized the name. Counselor Pelony had been one of the few who voted to support humanity's warnings. "This is Captain Sora Yoon of the human exploration vessel Remembrance. We detected your settlement and came to investigate." Pelony's eyes widened. "Humans, after 10 years. I did not think I would ever see your kind again. We did not think we would encounter Council survivors this far from the core territories. What happened here? What happened is that we fled. When the Vryn took the central systems, those of us who could escape came here, to the rim. We have been surviving, barely. The Vryn do not come this far out. Not worth their effort, I suppose. How many of you are there? In this settlement? 10,000. Across the rim? Perhaps 3 million. Scattered across 100 worlds like this one. We are all that remains of the Council. 3 million. The Council had numbered in the hundreds of billions. Sora felt the weight of that number. "Elder Pelony, I am requesting permission to land. I think we need to speak in person." An hour later, Sora walked through the settlement with Pelony. The conditions were harsh. The buildings were old, repaired with whatever materials they could salvage. The people looked thin, hungry, but alive. Children played in the streets, a sign that hope had not completely died. "We grow what food we can," Pelony explained. "We salvage technology from wrecked ships. We trade with other settlements when we can. It is not the life we had, but it is life." "I need to ask you something," Sora said. "Is Speaker Thelvin still alive?" "He is. He lives in the next settlement, about 200 kilometers north. He helps with manual labor mostly. Building, farming. He does not speak much. I would like to meet him." They traveled to the northern settlement in a ground vehicle that had seen better days. Thelvin was working in a field when they arrived, his once bright feathers now dull with age and hard work. He looked up as they approached, and Sora saw recognition in his eyes. "Captain Yoon," he said quietly. "I know that uniform. Human Exploration Corps." "Elder Thelvin," Sora said. She offered no other title. He was not speaker anymore. He was just another survivor. They sat in a small dwelling, drinking something that approximated tea. Thelvin looked at Sora for a long moment before speaking. "You came to see what we have become. I came because we detected your settlement. I stayed because I wanted to understand." "Understand what?" "What happens after?" "After the warnings are ignored." "After the consequences arrive?" "After everything falls apart?" Thelvin's wings shifted, a gesture of resignation among his people. "What happens is this. You lose everything. Your civilization. Your culture. Your pride. Everything you thought made you strong turns out to be built on foundations of sand. And when the storm comes, it all washes away. Do you blame us?" Sora asked. "For leaving?" "No," the answer came quickly. "I blamed you for years. I told myself that if humanity had stayed, we could have won. But that was a lie. The truth is that we would have died together. You warned us. We did not listen. You prepared. We mocked you. You offered partnership. We offered contempt. Why would you die for us after that?" Historian Sumino had accompanied Sora on this mission. She had been documenting humanity's interactions with former Council space. "Elder Thelvin, I am writing a record of these events. For future generations. So they can learn. May I ask you some questions?" "Ask. What was the moment you realized you were wrong?" "About the humans. About the threat. About everything." Thelvin looked out the window at the harsh landscape. "When Kelros Beta fell. When I saw the reports of how easily our defenses failed. How our weapons did nothing. How our tactics were useless. In that moment I remembered every warning Ambassador Junho gave. Every proposal he made. Every piece of evidence he presented. And I realized that we had condemned billions to death because I was too proud to admit that a younger species might know something I did not. And if you could go back? Sumin asked. If you could make the choice again? I would listen. I would prepare. I would treat the humans as the partners they tried to be. But I cannot go back. None of us can. We can only live with what we did. Sora stood and walked to the window. In the distance, she could see the settlement. People working, living, surviving. You know that we can help you. Humanity has resources. We have food, medicine, technology. We could improve your conditions here. We know, Pelony said. Some among us have suggested sending formal requests. But we also know that we have no right to ask. You have every right to ask. You are sentient beings in need. Humanity does not punish people for the mistakes of their leaders. Thelvin let out a sound that might have been laughter, but you do allow them to face consequences. And this is our consequence. We must live with what we created. We must rebuild without the luxury of calling for rescue. Sora turned back to face them. Elder Thelvin, I need to be clear. Humanity is not coming to save you. We are not reopening the borders. We are not returning to council space. That decision was made 10 years ago, and it stands. The Vryn control 70% of what was once your territory. They have built an empire on the ruins of yours. We will not fight them. We will not push them back. Our borders are secure. Our people are safe. That is what matters to us. I understand, Thelvin said. You are doing what we should have done. Protecting your own. But, Sora continued, we can provide humanitarian aid. Food, medicine, some technology. Not weapons. Not military support. But basic survival needs. If you want it. If you can accept it without expecting more. Pelony and Thelvin looked at each other. Why? Pelony asked. After what we did to you? Because you are suffering. Because children are hungry. Because people are dying from treatable conditions. We left you to face your consequences. That was just, But letting you starve when we can help would be cruel. There is a difference. Historian Sumin began recording. This moment is important. For the record, humanity offered partnership once. The council refused. That partnership is gone forever. But humanity is offering basic compassion. Not because you deserve it. Not because we owe it, but because it is the right thing to do. They discussed details for hours. Cargo ships would come, medical supplies, agricultural equipment, educational materials, enough to stabilize the settlements, to stop the slow dying, but no military aid, no defensive technology, no weapons. The remnants of the council would have to defend themselves if the Vryn ever came this far. As Sora prepared to leave, Thelvin walked with her to the landing site. Captain Yoon, I have one request. Tell your people what happened here. Tell them the whole story. Not to shame us, not to celebrate your decision, but so they remember, so they learn, so they never make the mistakes we made. That is why Historian Sumin is here, Sora said. The story will be told. The lesson will be remembered. What is the lesson? Thelvin asked. In your words. Sora looked at the former speaker. At this old leader who had once commanded hundreds of worlds and now farmed on a marginal planet at the edge of nowhere. The lesson is that consequences are real. That warnings matter. That pride can destroy civilizations. And that you cannot force people to accept help they refuse to see they need. The remembrance lifted off, leaving the settlement behind. In her quarters, Sumino began writing her report. It would be added to the historical archives. It would be taught in schools. It would be remembered. The humans did not seek revenge, she wrote. They did not gloat over the council's fall. They simply left when dismissed and survived when the threat arrived. They offered partnership. It was rejected. They offered warnings.